Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of our Partner Portal series. My name is Christopher, and today we will be going over the software setup for your live print event. Before we begin, there is some equipment you're going to need. Most importantly, you'll need some printers. For this video, we will be using our own Pro X1 printer, but our software is also compatible with other printers such as the Primera LX500C and the Epson C3500. Our software doesn't require internet, but you will need a router to allow communication between the laptop and your camera if you plan on using our mosaiCapture app. In the event you're collecting hashtags or sending takeaway emails, you will need internet access, and we'll go over how to do that later in this video. If you don't plan to use our iOS photo booth app or hashtags, you can use your own photo booth system and have the photos copied to the hot folder. In the case of our software, it's called the watch folder. Here, we have our mission control screen. I know it may look like a lot, but you're mainly going to be using these top 3 applications. And we're going to go over what all this stuff is. First, I want to point out the setup guide and the troubleshooting guide. Feel free to follow along using the setup guide, and don't be afraid to reference the troubleshooting guide if you run into an error or an issue that we don't cover in this video. The first thing you're going to do is extract your project zip file that we downloaded off the partner portal. You can find a link to the partner portal in the description below. So you're going to open up a file explorer and navigate to your downloads. And there it is. Now your zip file will probably have a different name. The name of the zip file is always your project name.zip. So for our example, we did tutorial as our project name, so that's why it's named tutorial.zip. You're going to click this and you're going to drag it over here to the project extractor. So that has now extracted your zip file and automatically put its contents of the folder into the appropriate locations. So we can go ahead and close out of this. To find all of the files that were just unzipped by the project extractor, you're going to navigate to your M drive and then to your project folder, and you'll see all of your files here. You'll also notice that your watch folder is right here, and that's the hot folder that all of your photos are going to go into. You're going to connect your printer to your laptop. Afterwards, you're going to open up the LX500 Status Monitor program. This program will work for both the Pro X1 and LX500C printers. This is where you'll align your printer and manage your ink levels. You won't have to change your ink unless prompted by this application. And you can see here that we need an alignment, so we'll hit Align and then Next. So if you're using an Epson C3500 printer, the steps to align the prints may vary, so you might want to follow the instructions associated with that printer model. If you're using our Pro X1 printers, then your default printer settings will be shown here. You can also find those in the setup guide. With our printer set up, let's go ahead and get all of our equipment on the same network. We're going to go ahead and do this by adding a router to the system. If you're using your own photo booth or camera software, you can disregard having to set up a router. If you're using our mosaiCapture app, then you will need a router to connect the iPad camera to the laptop. So here, I went ahead and connected us to my router. My router's name is LivePrint1T-5G, so my laptop is hooked up. To get all of our devices on the same network, we're going to have to run the WAMP server. This allows your devices to communicate with the laptop, so we're going to go ahead and click on After running the server, you probably noticed that a window briefly appeared and then disappeared. So to make sure that the WAMP server is actually running, you can just check the bottom right-hand screen, and you'll see that we have this green W down here. That indicates that the WAMP server is on, and all the devices connected to the router are talking to each other. With our network online and our project file extracted, let's go ahead and open up the LivePrint Mosaics app, which is right here. Here is the program that we're going to load our Mosaic file into. So you're going to navigate to File, Load Project, Tutorial. And you're going to load in the Mosaic configuration file right down here. If you have an overlay associated with your project, you'll have 2 of these files, one of which will be specific to your overlay. Please reference our advanced software setup video for a more in-depth explanation of how to configure your system when dealing with 2 config.mcf files. We're going to load in this one because we don't have an overlay on this project anymore. Now that we've loaded in our project, you'll notice all these pre-configured settings here in the cell options. These are determined based on how we configured our Mosaic back in the live print portal. All of those details will match the details you find here in the cell options. So we're going to go ahead and click Start Mosaic. And what you're seeing here is the Mosaic preview. It's a white screen right now because we haven't taken any pictures and we don't have any seed photos to start the Mosaic off with. That will have to come after we set up the camera. But let's focus on the Mosaic preview first. So there are a couple different things going on in this screen. The first thing I want to point out are your primary settings located in the top left-hand corner of the program. These settings, like the color enhance and the source overlay, can be changed during your event to adjust the color and the overlay of your source image for the pictures as your event goes on. The top right corner, however, tile size and brand size, these are additional settings that were pre-configured, so you do not alter these. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a lookup cell area. Typing the column and row of a picture here will find and highlight that photo in the Mosaic preview application. These bottom bars will show you information on how many cells you have left in your Mosaic versus how many cells you've already filled. So now that we have the Mosaic preview going, let's go ahead and open up the printer manager using this icon here. To load in our project, we're going to click this file and then tutorial. Loading in our project on both applications has now synced the programs together. The file explorer here in the top right hand corner of the application is what you'll click on and navigate to the project that you want to upload. But if you have multiple projects, you would just navigate to the one matching whatever is in your Mosaic preview application. So the first thing we're going to do in the print manager is we're going to add the printer that we set up earlier. So you're going to click add printer, and then the only printer we have hooked up is the one printer, so that's our only option. So now that we've connected the printer, we will enable it here. Using this drop-down menu, we can check the settings of our printer. The status toggle here can temporarily turn off or on a printer without affecting any other printers on our list. If this dot is red, it indicates there's an issue with the printer. For our settings, we'll be printing 2-inch tiles and brands. Tiles and brands refer to our cell size and our takeaway options. These can be printed from the same printer or different printers if you'd like, and that is indicated by the blue checkbox. Here we will be printing 2-inch tiles, but not 2-inch brands. So once you enable a printer, the settings in the print manager will be saved. This will allow you to close down and reopen the print manager whenever you choose, and it'll bring you back exactly where you left off. So if you need to adjust the printer settings after viewing your test print tile, you'll do that by going back to the status monitor app. You go to settings, and you'll adjust those numbers here. On the screen, you'll see what a correct tile print should look like, and you can find a reference for this in your setup guide as well. Let's go through what the print manager is. So let's close this drop-down menu. Your on-site photos are going to be generated from images taken during your event. This window will fill in the order that the photos are taken. Right now it's empty. We haven't taken any photos yet. The refresh button here will refresh the on-site photo windows or the seed photo windows when new photos are taken on site. Seed photos are images taken in addition to your on-site photos that you would want in your Mosaic. These will be images that are not taken during your event, but images that you would like to include in your final Mosaic. I have a small seed folder here that we'll be using as an example. Photos taken will be placed here in the Waiting tab. Photos taken on site in real time will move into the queue automatically, while seed photos have to be added in manually. After the waiting queue, photos go into the printing queue. On-site photos will always take priority over seed photos. Let's go ahead and click on these 4, and you can see that those have all been added to the waiting queue. As these go to print, these will then transfer over into the printing queue. Now that we have our print manager set up and our live print Mosaics app running, we're going to connect our camera to the system. We're using an iPad, and while using that, all you have to do is connect that iPad to the router to hook it up to the system. If you don't have our mosaiCapture app, you can get that for free in the iTunes App Store. You will need that if you're doing any type of data capture or if you don't have your own photo taking system. So connecting your camera to the router will allow the camera to communicate with the laptop so the photos you take are received in the Print Manager application. It's also important to note that if you're using more than one laptop, to make your M drive a shareable drive. This way all the laptops in your system will be able to access the M drive, no matter if you're using 1, 2, 3, or 10. When connecting to the router, you won't need to enter the camera code. You just need to hit the enter button because you're working locally. Once the camera is connected, you will select your project name from the list on the left-hand side of the page. After doing that, you will see a take photo screen. From this point, it's just rinse and repeat for taking pictures of guests, having the pictures printed, and having the guests put those pictures up. If you're using your own camera system or photo booth, then you'll need to make sure that those photos you take end up in the hot folder in order for the system to process this. The hot folder for our software is called the watch folder, which we discussed in the intro. If you'd like to walk around and take photos outside of your router's range, you can. You just need to switch to offline mode first by taking your camera off the Wi-Fi connection. Offline mode will allow you to take as many pictures as you like outside of the router's range. However, these photos are not automatically added to the Mosaic. You'll have to re-enter the router's range and reconnect your camera to the router. Once your camera is connected to the router, you can upload all the pictures you took at once, or you can go in and individually upload them as you'd like. In the event you're seeing a white take photo screen, or you were unable to locate your project on the scanning list, those are just common troubleshooting problems. My advice would be to first double check to make sure your WAMP server is running, and that both your camera and your laptop are connected to your router. With the camera connected, you can go ahead and take some test pictures. You'll see that I've already taken some test pictures here, and they've been counted as our on-site photos. You'll also notice in the Mosaic preview that this window is starting to fill in with pictures. This indicates that the setup is working properly and all your devices are communicating together through the WAMP server. By printing a picture here, you know that your setup has been completed. You'll also see this new context window come up, giving you the option to reprint your cell, reprint the brand, which is your takeaway option, or remove the photo completely. It'll also tell you what column and row number you can find that image at. You'll also need to go into the Mosaic preview and remove cells that are test pictures so they don't end up on your Mosaic. You'll just right click and remove photo. By doing this, this will free up the slot for the column and row number that these test pictures have taken up. If you go back into your print manager, you'll notice that the photos that you deleted in your Mosaic preview are not deleted here. And that's because this will log all of the photos that you've taken. A couple things to point out on this page. In the bottom right-hand corner of each photo, you'll see a number. That number indicates how many times this photo has been printed. So if I was to click on this one, it'll throw it into the waiting queue, and then when it's ready to print, it'll drop down to the printing queue. Using this, you can duplicate photos that are already in your Mosaic. All duplicated photos will get a new column and row number, so they don't land on the same spot in the Mosaic. Pictures duplicated through the Print Manager will be assigned a new column and row, and will count as a new picture entirely. Pictures reprinted through the Mosaic preview will just be copies of ones you already have. They will not receive a new column or new row assignment. The last part of the software will be applicable to you if you're collecting hashtags or sending takeaway emails. This part will also require an internet connection, so we're going to go through that. To get that internet connection, we'll be using a Wi-Fi adapter. So now that we've hooked up our Wi-Fi adapter, if you go to your Wi-Fi menu, you'll notice that you have a drop-down menu, Wi-Fi and then Wi-Fi 2. Your Wi-Fi option is the one that's built into your laptop and is going to be the one that's connected to your router. Wi-Fi 2 is your Wi-Fi adapter, and this is the one that you're going to use to connect to the internet. So we're going to connect to the internet here, and now our computer is both connected to the router and the offline system, as well as the internet. If you have any questions regarding the Wi-Fi adapter, you can always go back to page 11 of the setup guide for more detailed instructions. I want to take you back to the desktop background real quick, so we're going to exit out of all of this. Just a reminder, all of that stuff auto-saves. So now that we closed out, it'll save our progress where we just were. So if we open up the Print Manager, click this eyeball, on-site photos, you'll see all of the photos that we have. I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to minimize this. In the bottom right hand corner, you have your hashtag downloader and your emailer. Now that we have internet access, if we had these options for our project, they would be available to us. Clicking on these just opens up a script. The script will run in the background as your event goes on, so it's not something you need to consistently monitor or look after.
The takeaway script will copy your photos into the DNP printer's hot folder. This script will run in the background during your event.
Now that we've gone through all the applications on our live print software, that'll conclude our demonstration. If you come across any troubleshooting items that were not directly addressed, please don't hesitate to reference the troubleshooting guide for further information. Thanks for watching.